Good morning, everyone. I am Riya Sinha, your assistant teacher. Today, we are going to continue our sixth chapter of civics, that is, understanding our criminal justice system. In this chapter, we have already studied about our criminal justice system through a case study. Today, we are going to continue this chapter with a new topic. What is the role of the police in investigating a crime? Today we are going to discuss the role of police, public prosecutor, defense lawyer and judge. Okay, now let's start the topic. One important function of the police is to investigate any complaint about the commission of a crime. An investigation includes recording statements of witnesses and collecting different kinds of evidence. The basic and most important function of the police is to investigate any complaint. It is the responsibility of a police uh, to investigate against any FIR or against any complaint, whatever they are hearing or they are recording. So that's not only their work that they have to write FIR in their record. They also have to investigate about it, whether it is true or false. So an investigation includes recording statements of witnesses and collecting different kinds of evidence. On the basis of the investigation, the police are required to form an opinion. According to that basis, according to the witnesses and evidences, they have to form an opinion. And if the police think that the evidence points to the guilt of the accused person, then they file a charge sheet in the court. As stated at the beginning of this chapter, that it is not the job of the police to decide whether a person is guilty or innocent. So that is for the judge to decide. That is the responsibility of a judge. In the previous chapter, we have already studied about the rule of law, which means that everyone is subject to the law or everyone is equal in the eyes of law. So this includes the police also. Therefore, police investigation always have to be conducted in accordance with law and with full respect for human rights. The Supreme Court has laid down guidelines that the police must follow at the time of arrest, detention, and interrogation. The police are not allowed to torture or beat or shoot anyone during investigation, as we have studied in this case, that uh, police, that Sub Inspector Rao has beaten Shanti's brother. So this is not allowed. This is against the law or crime. So they cannot inflict any form of punishment on a person even for petty offences. Article 22 of the Constitution and criminal law guarantee to every arrested person the following fundamental rights. Now, what are these fundamental rights which come under Article 22? Now let's discuss that. First is the right to be informed at the time of arrest of the offense for which the person is being arrested. This is the most important right of an accused, that why they are going to arrest that particular person. It is his right to know. The right to be presented before a magistrate within 24 hours of arrest. When the police has arrested someone or some accused, then within 24 hours of arrest, that particular person has to be present in front of magistrate. Third is the right not to be ill treated or tortured during arrest or in custody. Police has no right to torture or ill treat anyone who is in custody. Fourth is confessions made in police custody cannot be used as evidence against the accused. Whatever the accused has said in the police station, that confession, whatever has made in police custody, cannot be used as evidence. The last fifth number is a boy under 15 years of age and woman cannot be called to the police station only for question. Okay, now um, next topic. What is the role of the public prosecutor? A criminal offense is regarded as public wrong, obviously. So, what is meant by this? That it is considered to have been committed not only against the affected victim but against society as a whole. We all have studied the case of dowry death of Sudha that we read in the previous chapter. So, the case against the accused Lakshman and his family was presented by the state, and that is why the case was called State versus Lakshman Kumar and others. So similarly, the above case can be called as State versus Shanti Hembram and not Mrs. Shinde or versus Shanti Hembram, because the directly or indirectly the whole community will get affected because of these kind of things. So in court, it is the public prosecutor who represents the interest of the state, and the role of the prosecutor begins once the police has conducted the investigation and filed the charge sheet in the court. He or she has no role to play in the investigation. The prosecutor must conduct the prosecution on behalf of the state, and as an officer of the court, it is his or her duty to act impartially and present the full and material fact, witnesses, and evidence before the court to enable the court to decide the case. So, it is the role of public prosecutor to show evidence, witnesses, and facts related to the case against the accused and on the behalf of the state. Okay, next topic. What is the role of the judge? The judge is like an umpire in a game and conducts the trial impartially and in an open court. The judge hears all the witnesses and other evidence presented by the prosecution and the defense. The judge decides whether the accused person is guilty or innocent on the basis of the evidence presented and in accordance with the law. If the accused is convicted, then the judge pronounces the sentence. He may send the person to jail or impose a fine or both, depending on what the law prescribes. So, according to the law, whatever the law prescribes, he may give punishment to the accused. Now, next is what is a fair trial? Now, let us for a moment imagine what might have happened if the judge decided to try Shanti's case very differently. What if the court did not give a copy of the charge sheet and statements of witness to Shanti? So, what if he held the trial in a secret location where neither Shanti nor Sushil were present? Or what if he did not give Shanti's lawyer, Advocate Roy, enough time to question the witness of the prosecution, such as Mrs. Shinde, and instead had already decided that Shanti was guilty? So, if this had happened, then it would be a case of an unfair trial. Obviously, because the victim is not getting the chance to explain herself here. So, if she is not getting that chance, then it would be unfair. This is because for a trial to be fair, several different procedures have to be observed. Article 21 of the Constitution, that guarantees the right to life, states that a person's life or liberty can be taken away only by following a reasonable and just legal procedure. A fair trial ensures that Article 21 of the Constitution is upheld. Now, let us return to the Shanti's case as described in the storyboard and identify the essential elements of a fair trial. Now, what are the essential elements of the fair trial? See, firstly, Shanti was given a copy of the charge sheet and all other evidence that the prosecution presented against her. Shanti was charged with the offense of theft that was defined as a crime in the law. The trial was held in an open court in public view. Her brother Sushil could attend the court hearings. The trial was held in the presence of the accused, and Shanti was defended by a lawyer. Shanti's lawyer, Advocate Roy, was given an opportunity to cross examine all the prosecution witnesses. Advocate Roy was given an opportunity to present witnesses in Shanti's defense. Although police filed a case of theft against Shanti, the judge assumed her to be innocent. It was the responsibility of the prosecution to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Shanti was guilty. So, in this case, the prosecution failed to do so. So, it is significant that the judge decided the matter only on the basis of the evidence before the court. The judge did not jump to the conclusion that Shanti was a thief just because she was poor maid servant. Instead, the judge remained impartial, and since the evidence showed that some young man and not Shanti was a thief, he set Shanti free. So, in this case, justice was finally done to her because she was given a fair trial. So, like that, the Constitution and the law both state that all of the persons that we have discussed in this chapter should carry out their roles in a proper manner. It means that they all need to work to ensure that every citizen, irrespective of their class, caste, gender, religion, and ideological background, gets a fair. So, what it means is that they all need to work to ensure that every citizen, irrespective of their class, caste, gender, religious, and ideological backgrounds, gets a fair trial when accused. So, the rule of law, which says that everyone is equal before the law, would not make much sense if every citizen were not guaranteed a fair trial by the Constitution. So, fair trial is also very important for any criminal justice system. We have completed explanation of this chapter. Hope you all understood it well. Thank you. Have a nice day.